Hello everyone. Today in this video we will see about various approaches to counseling. There are different approaches like directive, non-directive and eclectic counseling. So we will see directive counseling and non-directive counseling in this video. First we will see about the directive counseling. It is advocated by E.G. Williamson. Uh, in this type of counseling or in this approach, significant role is played by the counselor. Counselor is very active and counselee will be passive. The counselor gives possible solutions also to the counselee. In this type or in this approach, it is assumed that counselee will not be able to take his own decisions. That's why counselor will give possible solutions to the counselee. Throughout the process or during the process, suggestions, explanation, choices and advices are given directly to the counselee. So in the non-directive counseling, choices will be given to the counselee, but it is assumed that counselee will take his own decision. So direct suggestions or direct choices will not be provided in the non-directive counseling, but in directive counseling, these all will be given directly to the counselee. The problem is the center of the interest. Focus will be on the problem and not on the counselee. It is problem oriented. Problem will be focused during this process. What are the characteristics of directive counseling? The counselor assists the counselee to solve the problem. As we have seen, problem is the center. That's why counselor will always assist to the counselee for solving the problem. He will not give that much liberty to the counselee to interact or to open up with the counselor. Test, records and past history are important in finding the origin of the problem. To find out the problem, origin of the problem, counselor will conduct various tests. He will check records also and past history. He will use various tools and techniques during the counseling process. So that plays very important role in this directive type of counseling. The emphasis is on the intellectual aspect. Here, emphasis is given on intellectual aspect. Emotional aspect is neglected in this directive type of counseling. Only it is problem oriented. So that's why only intellectual aspect will be focused. Rapport is not so essential. And there is no need to develop rapport between counselor and counselee because problem is the center. So they will focus on the problem only. So if counselee will not share everything with the counselor, then also counselor will suggest the choices to the or options to the counselee. The role of counselor is active. Role of counselor is active and counselee is passive. What are the steps of this directive counseling? Data analysis. First, there will be interaction between counselor and counselee. Through this interaction and various tests will be conducted, tools and techniques will be used. By this, whatever data is data get through this process, that data will be analyzed in this stage. Then synthesis. In this stage, the analyzed data will be synthesized, means summarized, conclude and find out the problem. Diagnosis. Here, problem will be find out and goals will be decided. Prognosis. Here, tentative answer or tentative solution will be decided of the process. Then main part is counseling. In this stage, the counselor will interact with the counselee. He will give information. He will suggest various options. He will give various choices. He will explain. He will explain the advantages, disadvantages, everything to the counselee. So actual counseling process will be done in this stage, and then after providing direct solutions or options or choices to the counselee, then counselee will take his own decision, or counselor will help him to take decision, or he will directly suggest the solutions to the problem. Then last is follow up. In this stage, it will be find out whether the counseling process was appropriate, whether the goal is achieved or not, whether there is need of more sittings, that will be checked. So these are the steps or procedure in directive counseling. What are the advantages of directive counseling? Use of time is economical, as direct options or direct choices will be provided to the counseling. So it will take less time. That's why it is economical in the case of time. Attention is given to the problem and not to the individual. Individual or client or counselee is not that much important, but to solve the problem is the key, is the goal of this type of counseling. That's why attention is given to the problem. It is problem centered. Counselor tries to solve the problem of the counselee by emphasizing on the intellectual aspect rather than the emotional aspect. As we have seen, emotional aspect is neglected in this type of counseling and intellectual aspect is focused. Direct explanatory methods are used. Directly, as we have seen, directly opinions, options, choices will be provided to the counselee. What are the limitations of this type? The counselor dictates what the counselee has to do. Means he will not make counselee able to take his own decision, but counselor will dictate. So again, the counselee will be dependent on the counselor. This does not help counselee to develop insight into his problems, as emphasis is not given on the emotional aspect. As we have seen, problem is the center, focused on the problem only. Emotional aspect is neglected. Intellectual aspect is focused. So the insight will not be developed in the counseling about the problem. So such kind of problems will be developed in future also, but counselee will not be able to solve those problems. As the emotional aspect is not given the importance, there may be a lack of information about the counseling that may lead to wrong counseling. As we have seen, counselor will not give that much opportunity to the counselee to interact, to open up, or to share his positive and negative feelings, because intellectual aspect is focused in this type of counseling. That's why it may lead to wrong counseling, because each and every information is not available with the counselor. This does not guarantee that the counselee will not make mistakes in future, as he has not developed insight about the problem and he is not able to solve his own problems. So same mistakes can be done by the counselee in future as well. So these are the limitations. Now we will see the next approach or next type of counseling, that is non-directive counseling. What are the characteristics of this? Chief exponent of this type of counseling is Carl Rogers. Significant role is played by the counselee. The counselee is the center of interest, exactly opposite of the directive counseling. Here counselee will be active. Counselee is the center of the interest. In directive counseling, the problem was the center of the interest. The significant role is played by the counselee. In directive counseling, significant role was played by the counselor. It is assumed that the counselee can solve the problem himself. It is assumed that. That's why information will be given, counseling will be done, but the final decision will be of the counselee. And it is assumed that counselee can take his own decision. He can solve his own problem. Emotional aspect is emphasized. As in directive counseling, intellectual aspect was emphasized, but in non-directive counseling, emotional aspect is emphasized and more time is given to the counselee to open up, to share his feelings. The individual is encouraged for free expression of his feelings by the counselor. Counselor will provide opportunity to the counselee to open up, to share all his feelings, whether it is positive or negative. The counselor accepts and clarifies negative feelings. He will accept everything, positive as well as negative feelings also. Negative feelings are followed by the positive feelings of the counselor. So everything will be accepted, and based on that, counselor will counsel or give information or interact or suggest to the counselee. Counselor recognizes and accepts the positive feelings of the counselee. After interacting with the counselee, counselor will segregate positive feelings and negative feelings. He will recognize and accept positive feelings as well. Counselor suggests possible decision or course of action and thereby clarifies them. Everything will be clarified to the counselee. So counselee will be having knowledge of everything about the actions, about the decisions, or about the possible choices. So he will be able to take his own decision. Counseling develops a deeper insight, a more complete and accurate understanding of the problem, facilitating integrated positive action. So here, counselee is well aware about everything. He will develop an insight about the problem. What are the causes? Why this problem has arisen? What went wrong in his behavior? What need to develop, or what need to update or upgrade? What kind of behavior is expected to solve this problem? Everything will be clearly explained to the counselee by the counselor. Feeling of increased independence is developed in the individual. So here in this case, counselee will feel that he is independent to solve his own problem. He will not depend on the counselor. What are the steps here of non-directive counseling? Starting the session. In this stage, counselor and counselee will be discussed in general, or he will share, counselee will share his feelings, his emotions. By sharing this, rapport will be developed between counselor and counselee. Then defining problematic situation. During this interaction, by accepting all positive and negative feelings, here counselor can define the problematic situation. Where is the problem? What is the problem? It can be decided. Then expressing feelings freely. Here counselee is free to express his all feelings, whether those are positive or negative. He has full freedom to express his feelings, and counselor will be passive in this stage, and he will listen everything silently from the counselor. Classifying positive and negative feelings. Here at this stage, counselor will classify positive and negative feelings. Problem explanation. By segregating this, by analyzing and synthesizing the feelings or data, counselor can find out what is the problem. He can explain the problem. Finding problem causes. They will find out what are the causes of the problem. Here, emotional aspect is focused. So there is full freedom to express his emotions, counselor's emotions, to the counselor, and counselor is very patiently listen to everything, all the feelings of the counselee, arriving at alternate solutions. Then after finding the problem, after finding the causes of the problem, counselor will arrive with alternate solutions. He will suggest, he will explain many things, many choices, many options to the counselee. When counselor will feel that now the counselee can take his own decision after getting all the information about the problem, its causes, what is needed to improve. After getting all this information, now the counselee is able to take his own decision, able to solve his own problem. At this stage, sessions will be terminated. And after termination of the session, follow-up session will be there, in which counselor will find out how effective the counseling process was or whether there is a need of any more sessions. So that follow-up session will be uh, at the last of this non-directive counseling. Now, what are the advantages of this type of counseling? Though it is a slow process, it is a sure process to make the individual capable of making adjustments and take right decisions. It is a slow process because here emotional aspect is emphasized. It will take more time. Uh, Full freedom is given to the counselee. He will express all his thoughts to the counselor. So that's why it is a slow process. It takes time. But it is a sure process. It will make it able to the counselor to take his own decisions and right decisions. Laborious and difficult tests are avoided. As we have seen in directive counseling, various tests, tools, and techniques were used, past history were used, records were verified. But in non directive counseling, all these are avoided. As the emotional aspect is emphasized, there is removal of emotional and mental blocks, thereby reducing the counselee's tension. As we have seen here, counselee will freely express all his feelings. So, whatever emotional or mental blocks will be there, that will be reduced and that will be removed. So, counselee will be tension free in this type of counseling. What are the limitations of this? It is time consuming method. As we have seen, this is a slow process. That's why it is time consuming. The passive attitude of the counselor may irritate the counselee and hence he may not express his feelings freely. As counselor gives liberty to the counselor to express his feeling, but as counselor is passive, it may irritate to the counselee and he may not express his feelings freely. In this case, counselor can help him to open up or to express his feelings freely. It may not be suitable for immature clients as the decisions taken by them cannot be relied on. As we have seen in non-directive counseling, decisions will be taken by the counselee or client or student himself. That's why in immature clients it is not possible because the decisions taken by them will be uh, may be wrong, so cannot be relied upon those decisions. So these are the limitations of this type. In this video we have seen about the directive and non-directive approaches of the counseling. Thank you for your patient listening.